Right. Well, welcome and thank you all, everybody, for coming to this first ever Mindful Women Meditate event. We are absolutely beyond thrilled. Um, Thank you for signing up for the women, the mindful women in the so-called Zoom squares. Thank you so much for joining, and for the thousands and thousands and thousands of folks who are joining via Zoom and Facebook. Thank you absolutely positively 100 billion% for making the time in your day to join us. This event just absolutely wouldn't be possible without just the collective effort and energy of so many people. So I just want to say thank you very much for everybody behind the scenes who pulled it together, most notably, of course, Heather Herlock, since we've gotten so many beautiful emails from Heather helping us organize this. So Heather, do you want to talk a little bit? I'm the editor of Mindful, and Heather is the digital editor for Mindful. So Heather has this entire beautiful organizational system running the website. And Heather, you really were in many ways the inspiration for this, along with, of course, lots of other folks. Do you want to explain a little bit how this amazing idea got started?
I'd love to. Thank you, Anne. Heather Herlock here into the Mindful Media Square. And really, this all started with a feature article that we wanted to do about the powerful women of the mindfulness movement. It was an idea that I have had for a while. I wanted to put out there because every time that I would ask people for some names, who were the experts in the mindfulness movement, the first names that people rattle off would always be white and male. And so my goal continues to be to help shift that dynamic a little bit and open up the mindfulness space to more diverse voices. So this is part of that goal and that initiative. Thank you, Anne.
Yeah, no, and and then so that started it. There was a tremendous response to the piece online, and we ran the piece also, a variation of the piece in the magazine. And a few women got together and thought, wouldn't this be an amazing resource? There are so many powerful women in the mindfulness movement. Wouldn't it be incredible if we could all come together? And one of the things I love about how women lead is we lead in what I think of as circles of trust. Rather than sort of triangles of dominance, we lead in circles of trust. And we just thought, what an amazing idea if we could create sort of a virtual circle that could connect all of the women who are interested in mindfulness, and of course any men who want to empower women and see women be empowered, and anybody who identifies with the feminine spirit. I don't want to be disclusive, but it was really an opportunity. We wanted to take the time and the opportunity to create a loose organization that would just pull us together, that would enable us to come together, to see each other, to support each other, to share, take a moment to share what we're working on. And whether what we're working on is our professional work, or our personal work, or our social work, or a combination of all of those. That was really the idea. And I think, I will admit, there was a certain amount of, confusion. As somebody who likes, to lead things and pull things together, it's easy to say, hey, we're getting together and this is what we're doing, and please show up here and please show up and do this because this is what we're doing. And instead, we're beginning in a collective way, in a way that sort of puts all of us together. And so one of the things I would love to ask each of you to do is think about how this format, or this forum, or this sort of connectivity that we're creating here amongst women leaders in the mindfulness movement, how can that be of benefit to you? How can it evolve? How can it help you? What format can it take? Because again, this is not about dictating, hey, this is the way we're going, folks. It's not about that at all. It's about saying, let's pool all of the intelligence and the ideas and the insights that we all share and that we all carry. Let's start this now. And so what we're going to do today is we're going to be led, of course, by a beautiful meditation by Mirabai Bush, the pioneer. Many of us sort of think of Jon Kabat-Zinn perhaps as like the father of mindfulness. Mirabai is sort of our mother, big sister, wannabe best friend, confessor, Mirabai, help me, guide me, please, just bring Mirabai into your life. And so she's going to share a meditation. We're going to start there. Then we're going to do a brief check-in. And when I say brief, I'm sorry to say I do kind of really mean brief. We're going to try to keep it to a minute. And the format for the check-in is you can say, if you'd like, a little bit about your name and your role. And then maybe you could share a little bit about who you think you really are. I think one of the things, I think beautiful gifts of mindfulness is helping each of us come in contact with that sense of self, that person who we really are. And sometimes we're evolving and we still have a part of ourselves that we want to bring forward, perhaps. So that's part of the check-in. What are you doing? Who are you? What work are you doing? The question came up. Do we mean like professional work, personal work? And I'm going to leave that question. You can answer that question in any way that feels right to you. And then a little bit maybe about how mindfulness is working for you, or how mindfulness is impacting you. And I know that's a lot to cram into a minute. I will be there to help you. If you're running over a minute, I'll start saying things like, thank you, that was lovely. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. And then of course we have the awful mute button, and I don't want to have to put the mute button on, but we do want to be conscious of people's time, and we want to be aware that this is the first of what we hope can become sort of a circle of trust for all of us. So anybody who wants to just, I have to do my commercial, I'm sorry, for what mindful is, because some of you may not know the full aspects of mindful. So mindful, of course, is mindful.org. Beautiful website. Again, I bow to Heather and Nicole and all the people who've built this website over time. We're reaching 700,000 people through our website. There's also, of course, Mindful on social. We're reaching about 500,000 on Facebook, Instagram 50,000, 160,000 on Twitter. We, of course, have, I say of course because I know this baby well, this is how I spend my days and hours and time, is, of course, we have Mindful Magazine with the beautiful Shelley, the amazing Amishi, the fabulous Manouche. And here you guys get a preview of the amazing Janae Johnson, who is coming out on our next cover. This is actually this is a proof of it, just hasn't even been printed yet. And then of course we're a nonprofit, so we work to support the Foundation for a Mindful Society. And the Foundation for a Mindful Society does things like supporting people in the education space and really bringing mindfulness right where it needs to be and right to the people who in some ways need it the most. Helping with solving the problem of racial injustice, social injustice, gender inequality, helping teens in school. So we have, as we all know, we look at those subjects, there's a tremendous amount of work to do. We also have the Mindful Cities Initiative, which we are getting started in Flint, Michigan. So I just want you all to know, what kind of an organization you, by being here, are helping to support, and thank you for your participation. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mirabai, and I'm just going to say as a reminder, so we can all just flow with wherever Mirabai takes us in this, what will be, I know, is a beautiful meditation. Please do make sure that you're on mute so that we can all just follow Mirabai's words and just let go. So with that, Mirabai, please, my dear, would you lead us in a beautiful meditation?
I'd be happy to. Well, thank you all for being here. I have to say, I've been practicing for almost 50 years now. I first learned in 1970 in India. And during that time, I've been part of so many different gatherings, either teaching or participating. And I've taught everyone from children to lawyers and judges to Google to the Army. But I don't think any gathering has ever made me happier than I feel right this moment. This is so great. So yeah, and I think it's really important, and for all the reasons Anne said and others. And I also want to honor that it's a really hard time emotionally right now, in this country and in many other countries. And to just hold all of that in our hearts as we do this, and to, you know, there's always suffering in the world, but I have to say, it seems right now that it's pretty intense. So let's do these few minutes together in the spirit of wishing well for all beings everywhere. And I'm going to lead a basic mindfulness practice. But if any of you, I know many of you have other practices as well. And if your daily practice is other than this, and when you're meditating, you really like to drop back into your regular practice, just do that. And the important thing is that we're really present here with each other. And then just hear my words as rain or music, and do what brings you closest into the circle. And so I invite you to either close your eyes or have a soft gaze, so that you eliminate as much distraction as possible. And let's begin by just sensing and appreciating this great circle or web of more than 3,000 women gathered here together with the intention of being contemplative together. Bring to mind your own intention for this time. Why did you get on? And what's the best use of these few minutes that we have together? Not doing, just being. Knowing that we can all, having spent a few moments in a space of not doing, that when we return to our doing, we can be better mothers and daughters and partners and teachers and leaders and healers. So begin by bringing your awareness to your body, sensing your body from inside your body, noticing if there's any place where you're feeling any pain or tingling. Notice where your body meets the chair or the floor. Just noticing the sensations of this body, your only body. Not trying to change, just noticing. And sitting with your spine and neck and head aligned so that you are relaxed but alert. And we're going to do a basic breath meditation in which you bring your attention to your breath, noticing everything you can about it. The full breath as it enters your body, fills your body, pauses, and then leaves your body. And as we rest our attention on the breath, our minds will wander off. There'll be thoughts or emotions, ideas, opinions, memories, whatever it is, just let that go as soon as you notice it. Notice, let it go. Gently return with no judgment about having done that. Everybody's mind does that. Gently return to the breath, and again, full commitment to keeping your attention on your breath. So let's begin with a few deep breaths where you intentionally breathe in deeply, filling your body, your chest, your belly, and then breathing out. 2 or 3 deep breaths so you can remember the path of the breath. Now allowing your breath to be natural, not trying to make it be any way at all, just allowing the natural inflow and outflow of the breath, and noticing everything you can about it, texture and temperature, how long it is. Noticing, and when your mind wanders, bringing it back. Breathing in and breathing out. Nowhere to go, nothing to do, just noticing your breath, being mindful of your breath and of the activity of your mind. When your mind wanders, beginning again, gently. And in the last few moments of breathing mindfully, you can try the just one breath meditation, which you tell yourself, I'm going to keep my attention on my breath for just one breath, one full in breath, one full out breath. Now, bringing your awareness again to your body sensations, sensing your body from within your body, appreciating yourself for being here, for doing this together, for taking the time. Thank you, self. And now bringing to mind this web or net or circle of women, all of us, thousands of people in many places, imagining that circle in your mind and breathing in and out of your heart, warm, caring, loving breath, sending it to all of us in whatever way feels natural, sending kindness and care to everyone in this circle. Everyone suffers. Everyone needs love and care. May you all be happy and peaceful, cared for, loved, free from suffering. Able to manage the difficulties in your life with ease. And now imagine that circle, that powerful circle of women. Imagining that expanding and expanding so that the circle now includes all beings everywhere. There is so much suffering right now. May you all be free from suffering. May you all be peaceful and happy and healthy and safe. May you love and be loved. All beings everywhere. And now slowly opening your eyes and coming back into this big, big room that we're in. May you all be happy.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That was beautiful. Beautiful. Oh, wow.
Yeah. Can we stay here forever?
I feel like I just went from 78 RPMs down to 33. Hey, Rhonda McGee, seeing you. Oh, lovely, 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 lovely. Thank you. All right. So with that as our like mellow out zone, we're now going to pivot and hopefully retain some of that like beautiful ooey gooiness as we go to our I can't even remember the word, check-in. I'm just going to remind you, 1 minute, format, name and role, who you really are, what, a little bit about what you're working on right now, personal, professional, either way, and how mindfulness is helping you accomplish that. I'm going to call on everybody in alphabetical order. I apologize in advance for any phonetic shenanigans. I will do my best. I'll just kick it off. Hi, my name is Anna Alexander. My current role is I'm the editor of Mindful. I get to be the editor. And who I really, really am, you know, it's like, was it Walt Whitman who said I contain worlds? You know, today, what I choose to share in that definition is, it was a little different before I zoned out or mellowed out, but I think I think of myself as like a force of creative energy. And what I love to do, kind of probably more than anything else really, is connect with other people who have a creative force or desire or a thing inside them that just needs to come out, you know? And to me, I love sort of playing that doula role, the doula to what is inside me and doula to what is inside others, and seeing that magnificence sometimes before it is in the world, and holding space for that and encouraging and kind of, to get graphic, seeing that kind of crowning moment where it starts to just come out, and that just is extraordinary. And to be able to do that with other people and to create things that then exist and take on a life of their own is just extraordinary. And it just, it fills me with a lot of joy. And I feel like I have many babies all over the world of things that have been created. What am I working on right now? A lot, like a tremendous number of exciting things at Mindful, and also just sort of really cool things that I'm working on in my own sort of other many lives. Particularly going into a really cool sort of spiritual realm that is just bubbling up. How does my mindfulness help me with that? I think that my mindfulness practice helps me in so many different ways, but in one way, personally, it helps me kind of constantly be in tune with that inner bubbling and that bubbling up, and also the call that I sometimes, you know, feel from the universe saying, go here, go here, go here, and I try to abide that. And also I feel like it helps me try to be attentive to the people in my orbit so that I can hear what they're saying and try to be kind and sort of nurture those ideas forth. So that was me. Thank you, me. I'm gonna share, I'm gonna turn it over. I'm looking for Amishi, because Amishi, I think Mishi's amazing. Neuroscientist, works at University of Miami. She has been called in, I think she's working with the Department of Defense. Anybody who knows Amishi Jha is like, just what an incredible, bright, extraordinary light in the world. So then we'll move through the alphabet to Amy Spees. Amy, unmute yourself.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I'm Amy Spies. My role is I'm a writer, teacher in film, TV, print, and also a mindfulness teacher. And very important and deeply honored, I feel honored about it, is creating a mindful writing program for diverse global populations, including university students, faculty, writers, Inside LA participants, underserved women, homeless, caregivers, incarcerated juveniles. But who I really am is I'm so deeply, deeply honored to nurture creative, often suppressed, beautiful, authentic voices. And I completely love collaborating with other women to make things that might seem unworkable pop in sort of a fresh way that we come up with together. I love that. I love starting new things mindfully, which brings me to how mindfulness expresses itself for me in these, like Mirabai was saying, quaky times. I continuing to trust my practice, which is grounding and guiding me to increase gratitude just for the moment and people like all of you, and to use mindful writing as a way to connect people with and us with our intentions for social action and justice, and finding a way together, hopefully. And as Toni Morrison said, make a difference about something other than yourself. And that's where I'm at right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Wow, and congratulations. That was 1 minute and 14 seconds.
Wasn't easy.
I'm impressed. Good for you. Well done.
Yeah.
All right. And I'm not timing everybody. I just wanted to see. Sorry. Brenda Salago. Brenda.
Hi, I'm Brenda Salgado. What a gift to see your beautiful faces today. And to introduce myself, I have to say I'm the daughter of Carlos and Esmeralda Salgado. We're born and raised in Nicaragua, and we're married here in San Francisco, California. So I also have to say who I am is also who I am in relationship to land. So ancestral lands in Nicaragua and deep roots in the San Francisco Bay Area, and relationship and stewardship of the land here. So my role, I'm an author. My first book, Real World Mindfulness for Beginners, is an edited volume with really diverse voices of folks in the mindfulness movement. I'm a spiritual teacher. Used to be the director of East Bay Meditation Center, which is a diverse meditation center in Oakland, and most recently was the associate director of Wisdom and Money, which is doing a lot of spiritual retreat with people of wealth. And then my lineages are both indigenous and Buddhist. So it's always a weaving of those for me. And a healer. When you say who I really am, I'm a medicine woman, a curandera, a healer. And my breathing practice, my mindfulness practices are both Buddhist as well as Toltec and indigenous. And so those are all woven for me and not separate. And who I really am is someone who knew when they were a child that I came here to be a healer, a spiritual teacher, and to help in this time of indigenous prophecy when humanity is supposed to be coming back together in the medicine wheel together and healing across racial and lineages, ancestral lines, healing between the masculine and the feminine. I know that I came to serve as a bridge building role in those things. What I'm working on now is Spirit is telling me to purchase a 58-acre property to build the Nepantla Center for Healing and Renewal. And that will be started not by myself. It will be started with a Moon's Rising Circle women that I've been in circle with, in ceremony with for many, many years. So it's going to be held in a circular way, not in the old way, not like that. And then also just connecting women's circles, Wisdom Women, Moon's Rising, connected to Indigenous women's circles in Central America, and just seeing that partnership across time and space with women. And that is outside of the old ways of philanthropy and the top down and the savior complex, and more in the we're all in the circle, the spiral together. How mindfulness practice impacts that work. This morning for the Lion's Gate and the energies that are moving in the cosmos right now, I gathered with a group of people and we did our Toltec breathing practice on the land right next to the land that we're going to buy, and asking permission of that land and calling in the energies of the sun, the moon, our ancestors to make that possible, and to work with us so that we're doing things in right relationship with that land and with the trees and the animals, all that good stuff. So yeah, my practice is every day, and it keeps me energized and in integrity and in connection with the beings in the and Mother Earth and the beings in the spirit world that want to help us. Everything's possible when we're working with them. It's when we're in our human small ego self that everything feels hard. So that's how that helps me.
Thank you, Brenda. I appreciate that. Cara Bradley, would you?
Okay. Yes. Hi, my name is Cara Bradley, and I'm the founder of Verge Body Mind. It's a wellness company that offers yoga, meditation, and flow state training. My passion is in helping people to connect in with their nervous system as source for helping them understand their states of being. So to get out of their head and to get into their body and to be able to trust the intelligence of their body, and using tools like mindfulness and movement and breath and stillness and nature to modulate their nervous system to then be able to go forth and shine. How mindfulness works into my life is that constant reminder moment to moment of the state that I'm in, and that I do have the capacity to move knobs and levers in any way to come into a more optimal state for the moment at hand. So I'm so grateful to be here. And like Brenda, I feel like ever since I was a young girl, I've been looking to help people in any way possible feel more alive in their lives. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Cara. Who is next? Oh, Carla Goldstein.
Hello?
Yeah,
Can
there
you?
you go.
Okay. Unmuted. Hi, everybody. I'm Carla Goldstein, and my present role is president of Omega Institute, where I've been for about 15 years. Also the co-founder of Omega's Women's Leadership Center, and many of you have been through Omega as teachers, as participants. I think the kind of core animating energy that I've always felt with me is sort of a hopeful connector. You know, I have hope for humanity, even though that could be really, really hard. And some kind of inner knowing that when we connect to presence and to each other, you know, that's really where the healing can occur, and the spaciousness we need to hold what's so hard. I use my practice very wildly inconsistently, I will confess. And it's really varied. It has a lot to do with the context of my own schedule, of the seasons, of my family life. My kids, I have two young, well, they're not as young as they used to be, daughters who I'm perched on an empty nest. In like 8 weeks from now, they will both be launched. So I think my practice may change, but I've always thought of my parenting as a practice. I think it's one of the quintessential presence practices. Also, seasonally, it's like summer. And so I love what you just were saying, Cara, about embodiment. I really feel, especially when it's warm out and I can be on my bike or run or swim, you know, I feel the power of an integrated practice. And when it's dark and cold in the winter, I'm more successful at getting on the cushion. But the main thing that I've learned from my practice and that I try to use is that no matter how inconsistent it is, or what type of practice it is, that that connective tissue is like one breath away, maybe two or three, 2 or 3 breaths away. And if I can just catch that even for a couple minutes, it makes all the difference in how I show up for myself, for my family, for my co-workers, colleagues, and community. Thank you. It's such an honor to be with everybody.
Thank you. Thank you for that. All right. How about Cheryl Woods Giscombe?
Well, hello, everyone. I'm very happy to be here with you all. My name is Cheryl Woods Giscombe. I'm from North Carolina. I live in Chapel Hill, and I'm a faculty member at the UNC School of Nursing and adjunct in the School of Medicine. And my work involves research. I'm a health psychologist, and I'm also a therapist. I'm a psychiatric nurse practitioner. And my research involves studying the effects of stress on health disparities, and I utilize mindfulness-based strategies to help reduce stress and help people improve not only their health behaviors, their commitment to self-care, but also the physiological processes that connect stress to health outcomes. I love serving as a therapist and working with individuals, particularly veterans, women, and older adults. I'm a mom of 2 girls, 10 and 13. I'm very committed to family. I stay in North Carolina because my roots are from North Carolina, my parents and on both sides. And I really appreciated what was said earlier about land. I'm feeling a strong connection to land and have a lot of thoughts about purchasing land for the purpose of supporting community and supporting healing, and just waiting for that to come full circle of exactly how I should move forward on that. But love drives to the country to visit my parents, and that is really renewing to me, and it's part of my mindfulness practice. I really engage in seeing cows and sheep and baby pigs running across the fields, and that brings me a lot of happiness each week as I travel home to see my parents. I love teaching mindfulness with a partner and a colleague to medical and nursing students. We're trying to not only help health professionals engage in better self-care, but help them learn ways to implement mindfulness in feasible ways with their patients and help them to be reflective and be able to have sustainable careers that enables them to kind of avoid burnout and enjoy
Did Cheryl just freeze for everybody else as well? Okay, all right. Well, how about, thank you, Cheryl, in the frozen world of Zoom. Shall we go, let's go to Cheryl Jones. Thank you, Cheryl Woods. Let's go to Cheryl Jones. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Cheryl Jones, and I am the founder and CEO of The Mindful Path, a business I started back in 2003. I have been an advocate for health and wellness since I was in high school. And it's always been a calling for me. It's been my life's work, and I continue to do that work today. I am dedicated to helping people and organizations thrive, and I do that largely based on my frontline experience as Director of Mindfulness at Aetna. And my personal mindfulness practice helps me to be a warrioress, and this to me means balancing fierceness with gentleness. And I would say that mindfulness informs my leadership and my life and all of my relationships, because it helps me to know myself, trust myself, and to be able to do what the moment is calling for.
Wow, beautiful. Thank you. I don't have the timer going, but I think you were right on. I think you were right on a minute. Thank you for that, Dominique Malfront. I'm sorry, I'm butchering your name.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dominique Malebranche. Such a pleasure to be here with everyone. I am an outgoing postdoctoral fellow from the Trauma Center in Brooklyn, Mass, and an incoming faculty assistant professor at Lesley University in Cambridge. And I'm also coming into some consulting work doing trauma-informed and cross-cultural organizational development and consultation. And I think for me, who I really feel myself to be is a soul that's really based in transformative and liberatory energy. And that's a lot of my practice right now, and also where my work intersects as well. Is thinking about the ways in which my experiences as a first-generation Haitian American, having not grown up in communities that practiced Western contemplative practice, mindfulness-based interventions, and really kind of coming into that through my own experiences and professionally, thinking about how we can use mindfulness to help us think about thinking. So the critical aspects of bringing awareness into our experiences, and also my kind of evolving experience into becoming an educator and seeing my role as being an educator of my own experiences and my own embodiment, and unlearning and relearning some of the experiences of oppression, and how the opportunity of using mindfulness as a witness, as a place of spaciousness, as a place of holding, being able to show up authentically in present spaces with integrity has been a lot of my practice and what I bring to my teaching, as well as my yoga practice. So I'm a dancer and also a yogi, and teach trauma sensitive practices and think about the ways in which we can engage in embodied mindful embodiment and movement as a way of helping to reclaim lost cultural roots, and coming into new learning of current embodiment, and being able to share that. So thank you.
Thank you. Wow, that sounds beautiful and fascinating and wonderfully interwoven. Elaine is a columnist with Mindful. So I see your smiling face and your words often. So thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much. And if you hear any construction going on in the background, it's because I had a flood this morning, which is really fun. Anyhow, my name, as she said, is Elaine Smokler. And as I do get to write the Inner Wisdom column, which has been amazing experience as I mine my inner wormy self for whatever mindfulness goop I can find there, which seems to be plenty. I also work as a psychotherapist, and I teach at the wonderful Center for Mindfulness Studies in Toronto. And I have to do a shout out to Sick Kids Hospital in Toronto, where I also work as part of the mindfulness think tank. And the Sick Kids Hospital is doing amazing, amazing work in the area of mindfulness, all kinds of research and really thrilling things there. I also get to work for eMindful in corporations through coaching, and I'm a wild creator and performer of many amazing, crazy things, including a mindfulness class that I have created in a bar called Mindful Martinis. And
Wow.
That is not trying to encourage people to drink, but trying to encourage people to be mindful wherever they are, which includes being in a bar. And I have been so fortunate to be a mindful practitioner for almost 30 years. And my practice has helped tenderize me to see how beautiful people are, even when they irritate me.
Wow.
And mindfulness helps me keep my heart open and gentle when I want to push you or me down a set of stairs. So it really has helped me so much see that we cannot escape one another, and that we are in this life thing together. So when people ask me about my political opinions, this, then I think all I'm interested in is how we can all be together, and I'm not looking for what makes us separate, but how we can find what makes us connect with each other. A gorgeous gathering of power like this one is a phenomenal way to strengthen our majestic collective, that web that was talked about. And I'd just like to end with hashtag wacky, joyful, and outrageous, tender-hearted warrior clown.
Wow, there you go. Try to say that fast. In this climate, you must be very busy with looking for ways to connect.
Well, I'll just say that I use humor a lot with mindfulness, because mindfulness, often people come to it and they feel it's very precious. Of course it is, but it's so important for us to be able to hold things a little bit more lightly and not take everything quite so personally.
Yeah, I hear you. Thank you very much. Alyssa Appel, would you like to share?
I would. Hi, everyone. I'm Alyssa Eppel. I'm a professor at a medical school, UCSF, here in San Francisco. And I do research on stress and women's health. And for example, current studies are understanding how mindfulness interventions work. And I'm doing mindfulness interventions for parents of special needs children and for high stress, low income pregnant women. And so following these women and the effects of it on them and their babies is just, can be really thrilling. So I am really focused on finding ease and peace in the midst of adversity. That is what I do personally and professionally. So I just love having overlap when the personal meets the professional, and that's a bit new to me. So at this point, my practice has really helped me find comfort in the discomfort and the honesty of sharing my own scars, my own hard-earned wisdom to help people, to bring that to actually what I study and to other people through the interventions, through retreats. So I'm just I'm grateful to be connected to all of you. I'm grateful for this overlap in my own life and giving myself permission to have that overlap. And I'm just grateful to be part of this mindfulness movement, which is a cultural shift that is just going to grow and grow. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Alyssa. Yeah, let's hope it just grows and grows and grows. Because we really do need it. I mean, it's a marvelous forum through which we can talk to people with very different, divergent points of view and find the good. Jillian Bell, where are you? I am looking for Jillian Bell, my dear.
Hi, this is Jessica Morey. I'm sort of holding space for Jillian. Unfortunately, she had to leave early. We're in the middle of a teen meditation retreat with 52 teenagers. So she had to go and teach the yoga, and I am going to join her shortly. So Gillian is an amazing warrior teaching yoga. She runs the Urban Yoga Foundation in Harlem, teaching yoga in schools throughout the city, and also with us, with Inward Bound Mindfulness Education.
Marvelous. Jessica, do you want to go if you've got to run as well?
Yeah, that'd be wonderful, sure. Hi, I'm Jessica Morey, and I'm the executive director and the teacher for Inward Bound Mindfulness Education. We lead meditation retreats for teenagers and college students around the United States, in Canada and the UK. And when I read the question about what's like alive for me, my practice, and how it intersects with leadership, what's really alive for me right now is how am I using my privilege and aware of my identities and my privilege in settings with youth, with diverse people, and then how do I use that authority and privilege to allow for other leaders' voices to be present and elevated, for young people's voices, for people of color. And I guess the mindfulness piece of that is like bringing ever more awareness to how my identities impact the way that I show up, and the identities that are in the room, that are not in the room, who's speaking, who's not, and who has power. And so I'm deeply grateful for my practice for helping me to start to uncover that.
Wow.
Yeah, thank you all.
Thank you very, very much. I'm sorry we missed, you said, I said it Jillian, I'm sorry we missed Gillian then. I hope her 52 students are having a fabulous yoga session.
They are. She's the favorite yoga teacher of all yoga teachers ever.
Well, there you go. That's hard to beat. How about Gina LaRoche? Where is Gina LaRoche?
Hello, everyone.
Oh, there you are.
Hi. Co-founder of Seven Stones Leadership Group. We are a transformational coaching organization based in Massachusetts. I think what I'll just say quickly is mindfulness has brought me deep listening for myself and for others, and I bring that into organizations and other systems to help people unwind from burnout and the addiction of being busy. And lately, I've been working with my partner, Jen Cohen, around bringing this deep listening to diversity, equity, and inclusion conversations to really help us unwind from the racism and the myth of white supremacy that has dominated our country since its founding. And then I guess you didn't ask for a concern, but one concern I have or I pay a lot of attention to is how to keep an ethical underpinning this path of the Buddha, keep it aligned and attached to our practice. And how do I bring that in corporate space? And how do I bring that in Christian space? And how do I bring that in Muslim space? So that's just a bit of who I am and what my concerns are in the moment. So just thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for bringing the additional nuance of your concerns. Thank you. Golby Kamare.
Hi, everyone. This is really quite lovely. Thank you, Mirabai. It's nice to see you. And Gina, I really appreciated what you just said. I'm Golby Kamare. I'm the Chief People Officer of an HR tech company called CultureAmp. What CultureAmp's up to is also similar to what I'm up to, which is really changing the world of work, ending suffering at work, and using work as a place for personal growth and transformation. CultureAmp's goal is to impact 100 million lives, and I can't wait till we do that, and then ultimately more. What mindfulness is revealing to me, for me, it really allows me to reconcile the contradictions of my life. Prior to this, I was at BlackRock, which is the largest investment manager in the world, and I built and scaled a meditation program there for ultimately 1,500 people for over 2.5 years. And so it was interesting because I would work on a trading floor and then go to meditation retreats, and I would had strong extremes in my life. And so the practice, if anything, has helped me integrate that and bring that a little bit more aligned. And if anything, the practice also allows me the space to be human, but it's most powerful when I leave it, and I've left it for a bit. And so now I'm re-entering it. We just started a global program here at CultureAmp to embed mindfulness into our culture here and see how that transforms the way that we get to be at work. It allows the space to be imperfect and no longer a role. And it's interesting just to reconcile with being a role in the corporate world and also being a human being and needing to do so much. I'm at a high growth VC-backed company, and also just finding joy in being. So if I would say who I really am in the way that I envisage my whole life, or how it will be used, or what will make me proud at the end when I die, is to have been a force for change, and through the successes and the stumbles I face in my own life, and to do that courageously and transparently, so that hopefully it catalyzes other change. So thank you.
That's a big goal. Thank you for sharing. And it's a marvelous lens to look at things through. Thank you for that. Heather, my dear.
Oh, that's right. I get to talk too. Hello, everybody. Let's see. I've been trying to pin videos here as we go so that your lovely faces show up for everyone who's streaming this, and I have to pin my own. I'm Heather Herlock. I am the editor of mindful.org, and I'm a mom, and I am a creative connector and pollinator. I love connecting people. I love creating space for authentic expression. I love, creating space for people to be their authentic selves and to really be the either joyful or irritated or scared or fearful or whatever it is that they're feeling, but creating spaces where people can be who they are in their fullness. I have a fly flying around me right now. Who I am in my fullness right now. What I am hoping to do is be a part of the healing of these liminal times we're in, this liminal space we're in, where things are breaking and being remade in the very small way that I can. And this gathering is a big part of that, because I feel like what the world needs right now is a whole lot of honest heart work. And I think that is feminine work. And I think that it's essential for the sort of balancing of the masculine and feminine in our world that we need now. And I think that women with a deep practice, or women who are committed to a deep practice, have a unique potential for tapping into their authenticity and articulating that for the world in a way that might not have yet been articulated. And so my practice is informing that by helping me to stay connected to the love that I think is at the center of a lot of the work that we all do, that you're all doing, that I try to do, and also stay sane while I try and balance everything that I do. So thank you.
Thank you, Heather. To me, I mean, Heather and I are so lucky. We get to work together like all day, and she is as you saw all of those many emails coming to you. I mean, Heather, thank you for everything that you've done to make today possible.
Thank you all, ladies, for taking the time to be here like this. It is just amazing and powerful, and just the beginning. So thank you all.
Helen Wang.
Hi, I'm Helen Wang. I'm so grateful to be here. I'm actually quite emotional right now, just seeing everyone's faces. So I might cry, but it's okay. So I'm a clinical psychologist and a neuroscientist at the Osher Center for Integrative Medicine at UCSF, where Alyssa's one of my colleagues as well. And there's so much I want to say, but I'll try to keep it to a minute. So Helen means light. And so the way I use my practice is to keep my light bright and strong, even if it's just for me, even if other people can't see it, even in the face of a lot of sexism and racism and all the isms. And it's very strong in academia. We're not, and in mindfulness researchers, no one's immune to it, right? And so I try to keep my own light strong. I try to draw the light out of other people. And I've always encouraged people to adapt meditation practices to fit their own minds, their own needs, accommodating, diverse people. And so my work has gone in that direction, where I'm working with the East Bay Meditation Center in Oakland to highlight the beautiful way, yes, Brenda, that they've created an actually multicultural Sangha and have shared agreements about how to work through this socialized bullshit of the hierarchy, right? And how to do this respectfully, and how to create new ways of being, because we're missing each other, right? By creating these divisions, we're missing each other's light, each other's knowledge, connections that should be there that aren't. And so I speak up on how I work through my own privilege and how I build myself up, because I've been quite oppressed as well. And learning more about my history, I'm a second-generation Taiwanese American, and learning how Taiwan was colonized. And so every time I learn to speak up, I'm challenging generations and generations of oppression and helping other people to do that as well, because all we need is models. And when we see it happen, it's easier for more people to speak up and come together. And finally, I just have to highlight my new neuroscience work, because it's really cool. So in this stream of diversity, everyone's brains are unique and different, but the standard way of analyzing it in the field is to average it all together. And we find these average brain regions that actually don't exist in reality. So instead, I'm using these methods that honor each person's brain diversity. And you can do this. It's using individualized artificial intelligence or machine learning methods. Each person is their own unique environment. And we can actually use this data to recognize each person's unique signals when they're meditating, so that we can start to estimate when they're on their breath, when they're mind wandering, when they're thinking about their lives, as we all know happens when we meditate. And we're actually estimating how focused people can be, where their minds are going. And this will really help us understand how meditation practices can start to break down these mental constructions we have and create new ways of being, as we're all doing here. So I'm so honored to be here. Thank you.
Wow. I don't know if anybody else, I just wrote down the word brain diversity. I feel a cover forming. That's fascinating. Thank you. I'm sorry. I'm just like, this is what I do. I'm like this creative. That's like amazing and interesting and fascinating. And yes, yes. I love what you said, because it enables each of us to truly accept the fact that we are actually unique. You know, I think we still wrestle with that oftentimes. It's sort of like, I think there's this inherent where you should be just kind of like everybody else, and this individuality is somehow kind of a farce. But actually, I love the fact that you're researching it. Good for you. Well done. Love to hear about that. Sorry, I just got, all right, let's see. Thank you, Helen. Holly Rogers. Holly Rogers, my dear. Here's Holly Rogers, the beautiful Holly Rogers.
I think she has stepped out.
All righty then, Holly Rogers. Jackie Johnson.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jackie Johnson. I'm the founder of Choice Coaching and Consulting, and I'm a leadership coach and mindfulness instructor with a lifelong interest in what emerges when we engage with others in our shared humanity. Recent practice for me has included working with experience of grief and loss, cultivating the capacity to be with feelings of sadness and vulnerability, and often almost simultaneously to be with joy and gratitude. It's really, for me, an ongoing practice as a leadership coach and throughout my life to trust the power of holding space, to notice, to not run with the impulse to try and fix or problem solve the suffering of others that often arises in our desire to be most helpful.
Wow.
So I thank you all. It's a real joy and honor to be with you.
Thank you, Jackie. And from ideas, things come. And Jackie was one of the people who was originally thinking about this. So thank you for holding space for that idea that has ultimately become what we're doing today. Jackie, Janice Martirano. Janice Martirano.
Well done, Anne. Thank you. I'm so deeply touched by all of you, and I'm grateful to be here with you. So my name is Janice Martirano. I'm the Executive Director and founder of the Institute for Mindful Leadership and the author of Finding the Space to Lead. As for who I really am, I'm someone who has always believed in the untapped potential of influencer and leaders in our societies, in our families, in our communities, and that there are leaders everywhere, at every level, in every organization. And the best leaders are not about titles or place in the New Org charts. The best leaders are people with bright minds and warm hearts. And I especially believe that to be true when it comes to women. So right now, in listening, and I've been teaching for more than 15 years now, right now I'm working on preparations for a deepening retreat that I'll be guiding in the fall that's specific to the two most common challenges I hear from my students and my clients about being one of those influencers today. And the first is a challenge of bringing our authentic voices and our deep listening to the things that hook us. How do we build those needed bridges? What are the barriers and gateways to help us do that? And whether you're in an organization that's got a culture that doesn't encourage that, or a community, there are so many times when that oppression, and we've heard people speak so eloquently about it even today. And the second part is to address this constant drumbeat that gets louder and louder every year that I teach. It seems to get louder and louder, that I'm spending my life on autopilot and I'm completely exhausted. And again, I think that's for everyone, men and women, but I think it could be that it's much more for women. So how do we build resiliency even in the midst of all of that? How do we really do it? So aside from all the introductory retreats and workshops, this was a call that I was hearing people say, take us somewhere deeper into these two topics. And so that's the retreat that's coming up in October. And so that's consuming me. And if I look at what is here for me in my personal practice and how my practice is showing up for me, not surprisingly to me, because this is almost always the case. Those two things are here for me as well, and have been for me in my own work. That idea of how do I see when I'm hooked? And these days with all the divisiveness, it's so easy to get hooked. How do I meet that? By building some of those bridges myself. And how do I keep my own cultivation of resiliency front of mind? So thank you all for letting me be a part of this circle. It's truly an honor.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you. You know, I loved it when Heather, we were talking about the format and the sort of the three-part things, and we were sort of going through it, and she really emphasized the idea of like how we wanted people today to show up as their authentic self. So hence that emphasis on the real, because it's so easy to slip into the role and to go onto autopilot. And anyway, so thank you. Sounds like a marvelous retreat that you were working on. Jana Bilski.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. It is an honor to be with all of you. I work at the Ford Foundation, which is a nonprofit. It's a foundation that is focused on reducing inequality and advancing social justice. I work in the investments division, and I also started a meditation and mindfulness program there. It'll be 3 years ago this month, which I teach and lead every week there. And you know, who am I really? I would say, you know, I'm someone who's been passionate about healing for a very long time, healing individually, collectively, helping people to tap into their full potential and to let go of limiting ways of identifying with oneself that hold us back. And that's something that my mindfulness practices help me and helps me to do. You know, in terms of I'm passionate about bringing these practices to the world, to the area of social change, because I believe that these practices are vehicles that that can help us to transform our minds and our hearts. And it is only through this internal path, this internal healing, that we are going to see the change that we wish to see externally in the world. So I'm quite passionate about bringing these strategies into our current models of social change. And one of the ways, I'll just, because I think my minute is almost up here, is these practices, they help me to have a shelter from the many storms in the world, the storms that arise within myself. You know, since I started practicing, I get caught up in far less storms than before I was practicing. And that helps me to not only, you know, enjoy my life more, but to be able to serve this world in the capacity and then from the sort of holistic way that I want to serve. So thank you so much again.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Thank you.
Jen Cohen. Where is the beautiful Jen Cohen? Is Jen Cohen here? Where is Jen Cohen? No? I am not hearing a Jen Cohen. And I saw her name and I think she had to, you know, as I was
She had to go, yep.
Lovely, no problem. How about, the beautiful Janae Johnson. Janae and I have gotten to know each other quite a bit over the last couple of weeks, couple of months. Anyway, so I'm delighted that you're here, Janae.
Yes, indeed. Thank you so much for having me. And I'm going to share with you something that I wrote about myself in 2010 that I think is still very true. And it says, I ascend, I inspire, reclaim health, beauty, and freedom for women around the world. And my title is Program Innovation Leader with the San Francisco Department of Public Health. My role has been to, I assigned myself this job actually, to bring mindfulness into the Department of Public Health through our Trauma-Informed Systems Initiative, because we are a trauma-inducing organization desiring to be a healing organization. But what was missing is the nest of mindfulness to help us really build the inner resilience, inner calm, self-awareness, self-management, compassion, on and on and on, that it will really take to enliven trauma principles. I'm also a certified professional coactive coach. I'm a certified mindfulness, emotional intelligence teacher, and I teach FEM, which is a feminine movement practice. And that is so delicious. That's for another call. It's a modality for women to help us to land in and drop into our bodies and into our womb space, and to really be fully embodied and alive in all that we are in this feminine design. I teach sound biblical wisdom, and I source from the spiritual to teach pathways of health, vitality, and transformation. And in that light, I operate out of the principle of Sankofa. Sankofa means to go back and get it. It's reclamation. So I believe in the words of songwriter Lauryn Hill, who says, how you gonna win when you ain't right within? And so that is my path, is helping people to write their inner landscape and to reclaim the joy, bounty, and health, particularly for the Black body and Black women. My mindfulness work helps me to remember to be kind to myself, especially in the face of microaggressions and racism. It is so easy to drop into this space of self-loathing, and mindfulness helps me to come out of that and to remember to hold myself tenderly and lightly. And I am so thankful to be in this space with all of you, especially a shout out to my San Francisco Bay Area sisters. I'll be reaching out to you. And it's just a joy to live this life with you and to reclaim that joy, bounty, beauty, elegance in everyday living. Thank you.
Thank you, Janae. So beautifully said. You speak and I start to move. I think I need to sign up I need to experience your FEM class. That sounds gorgeous. Let's see, who is next? Oh, Jessica Morag was going to be, but she shared already, and she is busy with her 52 students in her gorgeous location. How about Kristen Neff? I can't hear you. My dear, I can't hear you, Kristen Neff. I think you're still on. There you go.
Can you hear me now? Great. Hello, everyone. So lovely to be here. So I'm Kristen Neff. I'm a professor. I'm a researcher. I'm a teacher of self-compassion. And in terms of who I really am, I mean, I joke, but I actually am serious. I'm a self-compassion evangelist. It's really been my life's work. To bring self-compassion into the common awareness and to research it and to teach people how to be more self-compassionate. I mean, as we know, mindfulness is foundational, but alone it's not enough. We also need the heart quality. So self-compassion is being mindful of pain, but it's also caring about that pain, concerned with the alleviation of pain and suffering, and common humanity. And what I'm into lately, I'm so excited about it, which is why I'm so excited to be here, is I'm really focusing on both the yin and the yang of self-compassion, these two faces of self-compassion. So the yin of self-compassion is its healing quality, it's the ability to be with ourselves and others in a tender way. It kind of soothes and comforts and allows things to be as they are. But the yang of self-compassion is kind of the active element of self-compassion. It's that energy to stand up and do something to alleviate suffering. So yin and yang, they're from Chinese philosophy. Yin is more the receptive feminine quality. Yang is more the active masculine quality. But of course, they're a dialectic, and we always need both. The problem is the way gender structures work is that women haven't been allowed to feel their yang qualities. They're suppressed. They aren't allowed to be angry. They aren't allowed to be active. We're supposed to be sweet and nice all the time. And men, they're repressed because they aren't allowed to be yin. They aren't allowed to be tender, to show their more tender side. So I'm really interested in looking at this dialectic more closely. So the yin of self-compassion feels like loving, connected presence. Those are the three components: kindness, common humanity, and mindfulness. But the yang of self-compassion is fierce, empowered clarity. When women stand up and say no and we protect ourselves, it's fierce. You know, if yin self-compassion is mama rocking the child, fierce self-compassion is mama bear. So I'm really interested in how we help man and woman, because we all have this, harness our internal mama bear energy. And I think the Me Too movement, for instance, is the collective arising of the female yang. And every woman I talk to, I'm sure you all are included, we feel it in the air. It's bigger than any one individual. At a transpersonal level, there is something waking up. And I think it's Mama Bear, Divine Mother, whoever you want to call it, there's an energy that's waking up, and we aren't going to take it anymore. And we're going to start standing up to these structures of oppression. And anyway, so I'm writing a new book called Fierce Self-Compassion for Women, and I'm teaching fierce self-compassion workshops. I mean, we all know we're angry, but what do we do with that anger? I want to help us harness it at the energetic level and integrate it with the yin energy, so it creates a type of caring force. I mean, this isn't new. Martin Luther King talked about this, Gandhi talked about this, but now it's time for women to harness caring force and to change the world. So my goals are, they're big. I want to change the world. That's what I'm up to these days. So, thank you.
I love it. Sign me up. I'm changing it with you.
All right.
Bring out that mama.
Well, yeah, we're all in this together. That's for sure.
Yeah. Oh, yes. I think we can all relate to that. Yeah. I love your use of the word fierce, empowered, and clarity, and that desire to act. Yes, and yes. Thank you very much. Yeah, wow, that was a marvelous glimpse. Bring it on. Ooh, okay, Leslie Booker. Oh wait, we're just supposed to call you Booker. That's what you said earlier, right?
Hey folks.
My dear, there you are.
Hi everyone, I'm Booker. I am a Dharma teacher at Spirit Rock, and I also teach at other centers across the country, as well as offering workshops and trainings at different universities. My whole life, my world has been at the intersection of Dharma, embodied wisdom, and activism. For many years, I shared the practices of mindfulness and movement with the most vulnerable populations, mostly working with incarcerated youth in New York City, the juvenile detention centers, as well as Rikers Island. I also worked with women who were living with addiction, folks who were experiencing homelessness, and really just giving them space to remember their humanity, to remember their beauty, and also to give them a space to normalize and to express their rage and their fear and all that comes up from living an oppressed life. And I also work to support the sustainability of activists and organizers for a long time. Currently, I'm taking a little break. I am at home in Bridgeport, Connecticut, where I'm recovering from a radical hysterectomy. And it's really influencing, it's just reminding me of my practice to take things slow, to have introspection. Reproductive health issues are prevalent in women of color, specifically Black women. And I believe that this is the legacy of the historical trauma of our ancestors whose bodies suffered tremendous abuse. So my practice right now is just continuing to deepen my intuition, my wisdom, and that looks like having an intimate relationship with my body. So I can be with the 10,000 joys and the 10,000 sorrows.
Thank you, Booker. Thank you. And I hope your healing goes well. And we're so wise of you to take time. So
yeah. I didn't know how to do that before. So this is part of my practice, is teaching me how to slow down, how to stop.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, good for you. All right, let me see. Oh, Mina.
Hi, everyone. My name is Meena Srinivasan, and I am the Executive Director of Transformative Educational Leadership, which is a compassionate learning community centered on the integration of mindfulness, leadership, social and emotional learning, and equity in service of systems change. And those four threads are often siloed in the field of education. And so we're really excited about integrating and bringing these threads together in service of systems change and collective impact work. At my core, who I really am is a sacred activist, and I am unequivocally committed to leading for belonging. I've been really inspired by a lot of John Powell's work. And so for me, leading for belonging is really the focus of what our organization is trying to do. And true belonging requires us to build bridges across similarities and differences. And a lot of people have mentioned this already on the call, but mindfulness is such a foundational key for the how of bridge building. And so I also am a mom. I have a 16-and-a-half-month-old son, and my practice is informing this new journey into motherhood as well. And I'm super grateful. I'm a longtime practitioner in the Thich Nhat Hanh tradition, and so grateful that I've been able to come into motherhood having a practice as well. And my practice is also informing an inquiry question of mine right now is how do we truly create safe multiracial spaces where everyone can speak truth to power? And so that's my inquiry. Grateful to be here with you all and be part of this collective awakening that we're all engaged in together. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for the work that you're doing. Sounds very important and transformative. Thank you. Let's see, we have next Michelle Maldonado. Michelle.
Wow, impressive. I usually get things like Maldonado, so thumbs up. So yes, hi, welcome, and just so beautiful and lovely to not only see everybody's faces, but to just feel the energy of our collective presence. And, you know, this morning I started this Lionsgate day with some conscious breathing exercises and was really feeling the questions about how to sort of show up and share sort of really the fullness of who we are today in, you know, 60 seconds or less. And so here's what I will say. I'm not going to go into the kind of folks I work with, but I will say one of my roles beyond just sort of conscious and sacred space holder for humanity is founder and CEO of Lucentia, which is a human potential and mindful business transformation firm. And what that really looks like is just it's facilitating and holding the space for individual and workplace transformation so we can go beyond diversity and inclusion, but to belonging and unity. And when I was younger, I was introduced to mindfulness. I've been meditating since I was 7. And my aunt, my great aunt, I'm from New England, so those of you who are from the South will notice that since I didn't say aunt. And the one thing she did when she first taught me to meditate at 7 was she placed her hands on my head and simply said, "Quiet here," as she moved her hands down to my heart and said, "So you can be here." And what that taught me at such a young age was this other thing that she wrapped around it, that was that it wasn't enough to be aware of your community or the country, to have a country view, that we needed to have a world view that even went bigger to a view of humanity. And as someone in her 50s now, I see that we need even beyond that. It is the connectedness of everything, human and not human. And so when I think about who I really am, I would describe myself as a conscious connector who believes that we're not just connecting heart and mind, they were never really separate. We're reconnecting them into a beautiful place of awareness so that we can align our wisdom and compassion, so that we can bring courage and compassion and be courageous and compassionate wherever we show up in the world. I look at myself as a sacred holder of safe space for humanity that also believes that masculine and femininity have nothing to do with gender, and that they are both just the energies that equally reside in both of us, and we are choosing which moves forward and emerges in any given moment. They flow innately through us, and it's all power. It's all of ours. And so what I do is help balance that within men and women, giving women permission to step into their divine masculine energy, and men freedom and safety to step into their divine feminine, not at the cost of the other, but in balance and harmony and flow. And I do this, I think of myself as an activist, but I purely work in government and corporate organizations. That's what I've done all my life as a former lawyer, working in the tech space and beyond. And while I do work in nonprofit areas, I am so passionate about bringing this to corporate and governments, because think of the way these ecosystems impact communities in the world. And if we can get people inside those systems, because systems are no more and no less than people. And so when I think about how my mindfulness practice is expressing itself today, I will say that it helps me really embrace the delightfully surprising things that show up, and how my work and my presence is unfolding over time, as well as just the sort of mundane daily routines. I'm a mother of a teenager, raising a male son to be compassionate and self-loving, and to embrace the divine masculine and feminine within himself, so he can recognize it and embrace it and support it in others. And I'm in a beautiful spiritual union with a life partner, my husband of almost 30 years, who holds the same philosophy, so that we are in partnership raising a child in this way and impacting others. And the work that I'm doing right now, so a lot of work, like all of you. I mean, just beautiful, impactful work. But what I will say is that my mindfulness practice has called me and challenged me to step into places that I would not have before. And the most recent thing is working with a very large government agency that tasks our men and women to work for this administration at the border. And I have stepped into that, even though I come from corporate and technology, because for some reason, I have found a beautiful synergy with our agents and our men and women who are serving this country, who are experiencing moral injury, who are trying to do the best they can, and are trying to work in an untenable situation as we have crisis after crisis and lack of resources, and a way to sort of embrace and broaden our definition of in-group. And so it calls me to help people to use their privilege, to dismantle the privilege, and broaden the definition of in-group. And for me, the personal is professional. So I have no division to share about what's personal and what's professional here. And the last thing I will say is that I am here fully committed to this community with an open heart and open mind, and creating the spaces for us to take wise, compassionate action. Because mindfulness isn't just about being contemplative in a dedicated fashion. It is about taking wise, heartful action in the world and allowing our presence to be a gift and a shift change maker. So
thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the work that you're doing. I can only imagine how needed that must be in some of the places where you are having an influence, or your work is having an influence. Thank you for that. Mirabai Bush, are you going to do a check-in with us?
No. I feel like, you know, I said a little before, and I want to make space for everybody else because it's getting late. So I love you guys all. Thank you.
Well done. Thank you. All right, because it is getting late. You're right. And I think we all want to, yeah, I'm not doing a very good job. I'm sorry with my 1-minute stoppers. I apologize for that. It's this, the things that people are sharing is so interesting and just heartening and galvanizing and important. I'm sorry, I'm not being a very good timekeeper. I apologize for that. Moira Garvey. Moira, my dear?
Moira left. She had time.
Okay, thank you. Nancy Bardaki.
Hi. Can you hear me okay? Okay, thank you. This is a bit overwhelming to hear the incredible wisdom and heart that is being expressed. It's breathtaking, actually. So as Anne said, my name is Nancy Bardicke. I am first and foremost a midwife of practically 50 years, a nurse midwife, and a mindfulness teacher. And I developed a mindfulness-based childbirth and parenting program starting 25 years ago in the living room of my house as an adaptation of John Kabat-Zinn's MBSR course. And that has been my work and my passion, bringing together mindfulness practices for expectant parents and beyond. So the work, much to my delight, has expanded more than I could imagine, but certainly hoped for, so that now we do have a global childbirth preparation class based on mindfulness practices. And there are women, at least from 12 different countries, who are going to bring the program and train people in their various countries. So I have a global, including China, bringing it into the systems in China and Hong Kong and Indonesia, anyway. So women's health, 50 years ago, when I got started, the field didn't exist. And bringing the mindfulness practice into this territory is walking through that door. So I'm touched by Mina's words of how grateful she is to have had a mindfulness practice as she goes through this profound change. Well, that's echoed for the people who take the class and bring it into their lives in this profound time. So I'm very aware of time. I'll just close with saying that the mindfulness practice right now is, thank goodness. I'm 76 years old. I'm in recovery from a year-long treatment for breast cancer and another how do people do it without a practice kind of experience. And I'm looking for the practice to both help me with aging and also to help. And I really welcome input from all of you on how to skillfully and wisely pass this on to others, which is happening, but well, we could use a little help, advice. Thank you.
Nancy, thank you very much. Thank you. And I'm glad you mentioned the work that you've done, because you've had such an extraordinary impact and you continue to have an extraordinary impact. And I think you're very wise. You're very wise to be aware of wanting the influence and the work that you've done to be shared and to continue to be shared. So thank you very, very much for everything. And my heart is with you, and I hope you heal beautifully and quickly.
Thank you. It's coming.
It is. Next, I am looking for our dear Mi Ching Li Ang.
I think she has left as well.
All righty, my dear. Pat Rockman, I think, had another engagement. Pilar, is Pilar here? Where is Pilar?
Pilar also had to leave.
Oh, yeah. So I love it. And Rhonda came and she was teaching something, and then she said she had to go. Rose. I've seen Rose. Where is Rose?
Hi, everyone. Pleasure to connect with and reconnect and reunite with so many soul sisters and meet other sisters in the field. I lead an organization called Ivy Child International based in Massachusetts, where we develop and facilitate mindfulness programs for systems of education and care, with a special focus on urban populations and equity and inclusion. We are the lead agency for the Boston Public School System and the City of Boston and all 9 divisions of Health and Human Services. So that's what I do by day. Who I really am, I'm a daughter of immigrants. I come from a family that has been practicing for generations. I was really introduced to mindfulness within my mother's womb, and it's something that I practice throughout my day, intergenerationally. My role is now a caregiver to my own aging parents, as well as to my children. I'm a mother, a wife, sister. So navigating these multiple roles, both as caregiver and in these variety of roles, but also as a learner and a student. It's been an inspiration and also a challenge sometimes to my daily mindfulness practice. Part of our initiative that we're doing currently in the Boston area is an initiative called Healing Our Healers. And it's really addressing both the need that we all need to both embody and model practices, but those that are really devoting their lives to children and families across the city and across our community, but are operating from a place of compromised self-care. So how could we, one, acknowledge that and also create space to be able to nourish ourselves through the process? Happy to be here with all of you, eager to learn more. I too need to hop off, so I was just hoping to hang on so I could at least introduce myself and say hello. We'll try to connect with all of you beyond this platform as well. So thank you so much.
Lovely. Thank you, Rose, and thank you for holding on. And I'm going to reiterate something I think we said earlier, which is that there will be a recording of this. So if you do need to dash, there will be a full recording. We're going to post it on Facebook. People who come in or have to leave early, we'll be posting that on Facebook. So
yeah, thank you. And then so the one thing I will add is that I know my soul sister Rhonda had to hop off earlier, but Rhonda and I co-lead a mindfulness and social justice retreat annually now at Garrison, and we're also having an upcoming Women of Color retreat at Kripalu with some other sisters. So just a shout out to some folks that are already involved. And also, I know that not everyone could share, but I know we're all doing amazing work and pouring our heart and soul into it. So, but good seeing many of you, and I hope to see you again soon.
Thank you, Rose. Thank you. Yeah, and thank you for that. And I know I'm looking at our list. Some folks had to dash. I know I saw Sabene, but I think she had to leave. Shelly Tagilski, Susan Kaiser-Grunland, and but I am seeing Suzanne Jewell. Hi, Suzanne.
Greetings, Anne. It's awesome to see you, and it's a real honor to be here on this call with all of you. My role is I am a radio show host. I actually have a show called Mindful Mornings Miami. I'm also a female empowerment community event creator. And I have an event that I call Venture Women. I'm honored to say that Anne is going to be joining me literally 2 weeks from today. And she's coming down to be with that group of women together. And then she'll be on the show the next day. I'm a mindfulness teacher. I'm also a certified heart math coach. Some of you may have heard of heart math as a training modality for resilience and how to bounce back. And I also am a startup coach. So I have a lot of clients that I work with specifically in the entrepreneurial and startup space. What I do with the show is that I actually am trying to create a different vibration in the airwaves that are out there. We actually practice mindfulness on the radio, which is kind of a crazy thing because leaving dead air for quiet and peace is sort of an antithetical thing to do. And we explore what it means to literally live, work, create, and play in a mindful way. I've been super blessed to have everyone from Shelly Tagilski, who's not here on the call, Dr. Mishi Jha, they're both Miami, they're both in my backyard down here. Sharon Salzberg has been on the show, female Lama Karma Chotso has been on, Elizabeth Gilbert has been on, presidential candidate Marianne Williamson has been on, and we've got Anne, she's gonna be on the show on the 23rd. The real work I'm focusing on around women, and that's why I'm so thrilled to just be in this space, is that at the visceral level, so much of us don't have awareness that when we do meet women, we often start at the top of their heads and go all the way down to their toes and back up again. And we have an unconscious bias where we are actually determining whether or not they're going to be someone who might take our food, our shelter, or our mate. So just as much as we have unconscious bias around privilege and around other areas, one of the things that I want to really bring above the line of awareness is what it is that we are doing and how can we shift and flip that script to connect and really co-create. So that's the work I'm doing. And really for my mindfulness practice right now, the biggest gift that has come up is the value of paying attention to each other. I just 1 month ago lost a friend who chose to end his life. And the capacity, I believe, to pay attention is a gift. And your presence is actually a present to someone else. And it literally could make the difference into whether or not someone stays or someone chooses to depart. And so that's really how my practice is showing up right now, is recognizing that in situational awareness, not so much just my internal awareness, let us learn in community how to keep our eyes and our hearts on those that we are walking and journeying with. So thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne. Thank you. Tammy Simon.
Hi. Hi, thank you, Anne. Hi. Hello, everyone. My role is that I'm the founder and publisher at Sounds True. And I've also been inspired by this conversation to share a new role, that is that I'm the board chair of the Sounds True Foundation, which is dedicated to bringing the skills of mindfulness, compassion, and the essence of the spiritual path to people who would otherwise not have access to it. And I've received a lot of inspiration from everybody's check-in about activities that the Sounds True Foundation could be involved in. In terms of who I am really, I'd say in a way my whole life has been, adult life, teenagerhood on, has been an inquiry into that. And I don't actually have an answer. I don't know if it will ever be answered, who I am really. I am deeply devoted to truth and service and spiritual awakening and being a human of integrity, that I know. And in terms of how mindfulness impacts what I'm up to, I guess I want to speak about it personally. I'm focused on further opening my heart. I know there's so much work for me to do there, and without the practice, there's no way I could go in and explore that level of human sensitivity. And the other thing that I'm working on right now is how to let go more and more at Sounds True, because that's the only way we can expand to fulfill what's being asked of us in terms of our impact in the world. We're growing a lot, and I have to keep letting go and letting other people come in and seeing things happen that don't have my fingerprints on it any longer. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, that's an interesting point of transition, to be able to let go and to let other people fill the space in their own way. All right, next we have Tara Healy. Tara.
Hi, everybody.
Originating.
Tara. That's okay. That's okay. I am just so inspired by what everyone has said, and I'll make mine fairly brief because I am going to hit Boston traffic if I don't leave shortly. But I'm the founder and director of Harvard Pilgrim Healthcare's Mind the Moment mindfulness program, and we started in about 2005. And we have been in over 200 companies and trained over 15,000 people. I have 10 or I think 11 now per diem instructors that work in our program. And we have a whole menu of different ways that we offer it. And I don't think I ever could have imagined my personal passion for this practice would merge with my professional life. And really become one, although I don't think of them and never have actually thought of them as being all that separate. The other thing that I want to add is from a very young age, I would notice that my mind produced a lot of thought, and I used to wonder if other minds did the same thing. And of course discovered that they do, and that put me on a very sort of circuitous path to wind up with insight meditation and practicing and sitting retreats at the Insight Meditation Center in the 90s, and worked as an HR professional, but had this practice that I never really talked much about. And I think, one of the things is just that to me, it's a very deep practice of self-understanding. And I've always loved the phrase that the mind is the forerunner of all action. And so when I teach and work with people that are very new to these practices, and often they're astonished, a percentage are astonished by what they're seeing in their mind, and really helping them to relate to that in a less personal way has been just extraordinary for me. And my practice, I think, helps me in terms of humility and self-compassion and the ability to ask for help and for feedback. And so I think I would just end by saying I think of myself as a learner, a collaborator, a partner, a facilitator, and I am so, so excited to be with all of you. And Mirabai, thank you for the beautiful practice. And I'm going to sign off. Okay, bye.
Bye, thank you. Thank you so much. Yasmin, let me.
I am right here. It is a joy to be with everyone, both with the panelists as well as with all of the 3,000 or so women that are watching us and wondering what this is all about. So I just want to really do a big shout out to everyone, because I think we all have wonderful gifts to offer. What I do as a role is I have two organizations I founded. One is Tuned Minds, which focuses on mindfulness and compassion training pretty much across the lifespan, from teaching it to children, to parents, individuals, all the way up to people who are dealing with illness and death and dying. I'm also a hospice volunteer and in the process of getting my official certification as an end-of-life doula. And the other thing that I do is I run grief circles. So I have an organization, Grief Circles, and I really get into the grief, which is interesting, where my initial entry into it was really grief due to death and loss. But before I knew it, it really expanded to grief of all kinds that we both have within ourselves, within our land, hidden, invisible through our ancestors. So it's a really amazing place where we can really gather together. How mindfulness informs me is really, as Tara Brach says, the two wings of the bird, which are both mindfulness and compassion that always go hand in hand. And I bring that together. And one of the other areas that I focus on is that we have to support ourselves as a community. So it's really those three intersections that I bring in. And much to say, but I would really say mindfulness across the board, hearing the seen and visible people as well as the invisible people, regardless of what they look like, everything that they bring with us, being able to listen to them, carrying all the sorrows and the joys we each carry. And since this is around leadership, is to both listen to our own inner leader and wisdom while we are also relying and looking at others to guide us, to always return back and to empower ourselves with humility, that we can be there for ourselves and for others. So I greatly thank everyone, including Mirabai, for a lovely lead for us, and thank you.
Thank you, Yasmin. That was so beautifully said. So beautifully said. I can feel the tenderness with which you hold people's grief and enable their sorrows to come forward. I imagine sorrows and joys. Wow, you can just feel how you embody the work and what you do. Extraordinary. Thank you for that. And talk about extraordinary. Zinat, Hotia, extraordinary patience, my dear, with your name that starts with a Z. Thank you for hanging on and for sharing.
Thank you, Anne. My name is Zinat Potia, and I teach mindfulness in the Boston area to universities, schools, in companies, and nonprofits. And I also teach at the Cambridge Insight Meditation Center, where I've served on the board for 7 years. We're actively engaged at CIMC on the work of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And as an immigrant from India and a mother to 2 young daughters, my daughters are 3 and 6, and a woman of color, I'm deeply committed and passionate about opening the space that we have of mindfulness here in the West to have all voices and all faces to be welcomed and to be a part of, to be embraced. I would say my own personal mindfulness practice, both in my work, in the teaching, and in my personal life, is focused on non-harming. I am a survivor of trauma of FGM, and being born into a Muslim community in India and now living here, I feel very strongly that peace begins at home in our own hearts. So I'm very tuned to that. And, given the aggressive times that we live in, really watching my own mind and my heart as a woman, as a parent, and modeling a non-harming in every way. I also am working now with the Center for Homicide Bereavement in Cambridge, Massachusetts, with the staff, and they do very difficult, very intense work. And so trying to hold space for the staff so that they can then go out and be there for the clients that they serve. So I wish everyone, may you all live in love and compassion. And thank you to Heather and Ann and Mindful for creating the space. Thank you.
Thank you. Wow, you said that so beautifully. May you all live in love and compassion. Thank you for that. So I think we have just heard so many beautiful voices. We're going to close, but I just want to take a moment to just appreciate with absolute humility and gratitude for everybody today for sharing. And Mirabai, can I put you on the spot? Can you just sort of breathe us out with just a tiny little quick bow and a moment of gratitude? Because I just feel like everybody has offered so much and offered so much of themselves and their work that I want to treat all of that sharing with the dignity and the generosity that it really deserves. Anybody who wants to hang out afterwards, we'll meet you in the Facebook group. As I said, one thing I would ask everybody is just share any thoughts, feelings, thoughts you have on how this went, future advice, anything we can do in the future that would be useful and beneficial. We will have a recording that we can share. And the last thing I promise I will say is circles of trust and spheres of influence. That's how women lead. That we have all just gathered here so much information and how we can take it forward and just influence other people and just share and connect. So many words that came up today. I'm going to remember what Janae Johnson said about I ascend. And may us all today please ascend. Take all of this information with us and just ascend. Mirabai, would you just do us the service?
Sure.
Breathing us out?
Sure. I would invite you to just close your eyes for a moment and see what you're feeling now, what you're feeling in your body. Where are you feeling it in your body? And then just for a moment, what touched you about all that was said, or the way in which it was said, just being part of this, all of us? What one or two things arose for you that seem to really matter right now in your life? Now breathing out love and care for everyone in this circle and all beings everywhere. May you all be taken care of. May you be able to fulfill your life with ease. May you be able to take care of the people close to you. And may you continue to work for what's important in your life. Thank you. Thank you all for being here and for creating such a strong circle. Bowing to you all.
Thank you. Be well, everyone.
And it's exactly 5 o'clock.
Perfect.
Oh, yeah. Look at that.
Thank you all very much. Have a beautiful day.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Blessings upon you.